But I think that's an incredibly relevant question. Yeah. And I think DOJ, in the same way that it is setting up a task force to investigate oligarchs, should look into people who are Russian propagandists and shilling for Putin. That's being, if you are a foreign asset to a dictator, it should be investigated. In fact, I remember when Tulsi Gabbard, and I even hate that we're discussing it because I think to myself, who is this woman? She's she's no longer in Congress. She's a failed presidential candidate. Yeah. She only practically exists on Twitter, and the fact that we're giving her oxygen is what makes her relevant, that we're talking about her on hot topics. But on the other hand, how do you not call out something that is repeating false Russian propaganda that has been brought down?
They used to arrest people for doing stuff like this. If they thought you were colluding with a Russian agent, if they thought you were putting out information or taking information and handing over to Russia, they used to actually investigate stuff like this. And I guess now, there seems to be no bars.
What are you two crazy bitches talking about? What are you talking about? You want to arrest people who are different than you politically? Tulsi Gabbard? She's a member of our military. She's a former congresswoman, a Democrat. You just don't like her, so you want to arrest her? You want to arrest Tucker Carlson, the very dapper Tucker Carlson. What are you saying? You guys are nuts. You're just nuts. I only agreed to do this show because I thought that Whoopi was sane. She was good. Sister Act 2. Anna's just nuts. I don't even know what she's doing here. The other one's a racist, and there's the drunk one. What are we all doing here? You people are everything that you've come to hate. You know that? Why am I here? I need a haircut. Okay, that's better. Hello there, I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report direct message on today, March 15th, 2022. We are live streaming on Rumble, YouTube, and Blaze TV, although after that, we may not be live streaming on YouTube much longer. Yes, that was incredible, unearthed, unedited, secret footage from The View yesterday. That was guest host Darlene Rudin, who was laying down the truth with those lunatics. That's what we're doing around here. That's what we discuss doing around here at 8 a.m. in the morning. Don't ask how we got the wig. Michael had to go to Target, pick out a few blouses for me and the lipstick. Great choice in color, by the way, Michael. Really, really, you nailed it. I was very concerned because I've never put on lipstick before, believe it or not. And I was very worried that I wasn't going to be able to get it off for the show, but it all kind of worked out. I even managed to get a haircut this morning. But those women of The View are completely insane. I hope you enjoyed that. I think we may start doing a little more of that sort of thing, because basically me in drag as a drunk, psychotic lunatic sitting with those women is more sane than anything that they're doing right now, because as you know, The View is on live at 11 a.m. Eastern, as are we. And if you watch The View, if you're watching The View right now, you're in a very different world than most of you guys who are watching this right now. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. Anyway, speaking of insanity, we've got really, I would say, a bananas show for you. And we're going to do a real dissection of what's going on in the world right now. You know, I've been trying to not drub you guys over the head with the Russia-Ukraine stuff. I've talked a little bit about it, and I've been trying to talk about the media coverage of it. But the simple truth is, it is almost impossible to figure out who to trust on this right now. The people that lie to us about everything are seemingly pushing us into war, calling for no-fly zones, as if that doesn't bring you to war. But, you know, if there's a no-fly zone and a plane flies in, you got to shoot down the plane. Next thing you know, you got war. It's just like everyone lies about everything. So if they lie to you about absolutely everything, right, all the stuff that you guys know they lie about, if they lie about all that, if the machine lies about all that stuff, is this the one thing they're telling us the truth on? I just don't know. I'm trying to get an honest assessment of things, but I don't trust of this thing. But I don't trust, obviously, Jen Psaki. I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't trust the New York Times. I don't trust the Washington Post. They don't deserve our trust. So I'm trying to make some sense of it. One person who I roughly trust, though, is Tulsi Gabbard, who I think is a decent human being, who is one of the few sane Democrats running for president, who is a former congresswoman from Hawaii, who, you know, I've interviewed a few times and I consider a friend and is like a decent human being. And she's raising some concerns about what's going on over there. And what we're going to frame the show around today is that Mitt Romney, the swamp creature Mitt Romney, is basically calling her treasonous. And the women of The View are calling for her to be arrested, basically, along with Tucker Carlson. So that's what we're going to really focus on today. Real quick, though, I want to remind you guys that Don't Burn This Country is coming out on April 12th. You can pre-order it right now at daverubin.com/book. And if you pre-order it, it counts as first week orders, so I can get back on that New York Times list, even though I don't care about the New York Times list, which makes it even funnier to be on there. And if you go to daverubin.com/book, you can buy it from Amazon or Barnes & Nobles or your local bookstore, a couple other retailers. We will have a big announcement this week regarding the tour. I'm hoping that I can announce it tomorrow. And then I think we're going to do a pre-sale of tour tickets for our locals community, rubinreport.locals.com, on Thursday, and then the general public on Friday. So hopefully we can announce that tomorrow. And all right, I got a little lipstick off. I'm feeling good. Let's talk about Genucel for just a moment, and then we will get to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about Genucel's new Ultra Retinol Cream, which uses dual-action skin technology to visibly reduce and improve red, inflamed, and yes, even blotchy skin. By combining hyaluronic acid and a breakthrough phytoretinol, you too can smooth away forehead wrinkles and laugh lines, plus renew and revitalize your appearance without the harsh effects and irritation of retinol. Genucel Ultra Retinol is safe for sensitive skin, provides effective hydration and skin-renewing benefits for all skin types, and is perfect for both men and women, or men who are YouTubers who occasionally dress up like women to mock the ladies of The View. Go to Genucel.com/Dave now for up to 50% off the brand new Ultra Retinol Serum. You'll also get Genucel immediate effects for results in 12 hours or less for free with your order. That's an $89 value, free express shipping, free returns, exquisite customer service. You'll be amazed with the results, or you'll get your money back. Just go to Genucel.com/Dave. That's GENUCEL.com/Dave. And now back to me. Is it weird that I kept the bra on? I just felt it just kind of keeping it all in place. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's talk about what's going on here with this Russia-Ukraine stuff and misinformation and who to trust and everything else. So the big thing over the last couple of days is that apparently there are biolabs, okay, biological labs in Ukraine, potentially funded by the United States. And here is Secretary of State for Political Affairs, Victoria Nuland, being questioned by Marco Rubio at a congressional hearing about these biolabs and whether they're weaponized or not, and who might be in charge of them, and what could happen if Russia goes for them. And that's going to really set up the rest of the show today. Take a look.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities, which, in fact, we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
I'm sure you're aware that the Russian propaganda groups are already putting out there all kinds of information about how they've uncovered a plot by the Ukrainians to release biological weapons in the country, and with NATO's coordination. If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
Okay, there's Victoria Nuland talking about the Ukrainians, who more so sound like something from Star Trek. I think she means Ukrainians, but putting that aside for a moment. So in essence, there are these bio labs. They are not weaponized. They are research labs. But of course, if bad guys could get a hold of the material there, you don't have to be a biologist or a weapons expert to understand if you can get a hold of these pathogens that could make people sick. God only knows what they're doing in these labs. That they could be weaponized. They're not being designed to be weapons. That basically is what she's saying. And Rubio there is saying, hey, if somebody does something and this thing blows up, is this going to be the Russians? She's saying without a question it will be. I don't know how you could really know that before it's happened. Like anyone could do anything or blow up anything for whatever their reasons might be. There could be an accident that blows up the thing. Anyway, what brings this all up is that Tulsi Gabbard put out a video basically saying that there should be a ceasefire around these biolabs to just kind of cool the tensions, regardless of what you think is exactly going on here, regardless of what you think about Russia, Ukraine, everything else. Tulsi put this video out, and then there was some fallout from Mitt Romney. So first, let's look at the video.
Here are the undeniable facts. There are 25 to 30 U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine. According to the U.S. government, these biolabs are conducting research on dangerous pathogens. Ukraine is in an active war zone with widespread bombing, artillery, and shelling, and these facilities, even in the best of circumstances, could easily be compromised and release these deadly pathogens. So in order to protect the American people, the people of Europe, the people around the world, these labs need to be shut down immediately, and the pathogens that they hold need to be destroyed. Instead of trying to cover this up, the Biden-Harris administration needs to work with Russia, Ukraine, NATO, the UN to immediately implement a ceasefire for all military action in the vicinity of these labs until they're secured and these pathogens are destroyed. Now, this is not a partisan political issue. The administration and Congress need to act now for the health and well-being of every American and every person on this planet.
You know how I always say that thing about when someone is telling the truth, which is so rare these days, you can sort of feel it, right? Like she's making a point. This is not partisan. These biolabs exist. There are pathogens that could get out. What the subtext to all of this is that we just got out of 2 years of COVID. You would not want more pathogens out there to start another worldwide pandemic. She's saying instead of obfuscating the truth around this, related to who funded it or what's going on there or anything else, that there is a war zone, there are bombs going off, artillery, things are blowing up. This is a woman who knows a bit about war. She's an active member of our military. Actually, I wanted her on the show a couple weeks ago to discuss something else entirely, and she was doing training. Okay, so this is not somebody who is just making this stuff up or has no information about any of this. On top of the fact that she's a former congresswoman, and she's just a decent human, right? Like it's just obvious this is a decent human. So all she's saying is, hey, there's a war, there's biolabs. Everybody better figure out how to make sure that these things don't fall into the wrong hands or get blown up and start another pandemic. That's in essence what she is saying. Well, then Mitt Romney saw that, and listen to what Mitt Romney said on the Twitter. He said, Tulsi Gabbard is parroting false Russian propaganda. Her, and here's the word, treasonous lies may well cost lives. Okay. First off, does anything that she said there sound like a treasonous lie? Or does it sound like concern? Concern that there are biolabs with some dangerous stuff in a war zone. So what are the facts? The facts are there is a war zone. The facts are that there was Victoria Nuland admitting that these biolabs exist. All Tulsi's saying is, hey, we better watch out for this. Mitt Romney, who, I'm being told, 4-time draft dodger Mitt Romney, is saying to a current member of our military that she is treasonous. This is an extraordinary claim by Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney, who has been sort of the worst nothingness Republican, stands up for nothing other than continuing to feed the machine. Well, Tulsi is not laying down and just taking it from Mitt. She sent out quite a good Twitter thread. She said, at Mitt Romney, you have called me a treasonous liar for stating the fact that there are 25 plus U.S.-funded biolabs in Ukraine, which if breached would release and spread deadly pathogens to the U.S. and world, and therefore must be secured in order to prevent new pandemics. Bizarrely, you claim that securing these labs, or even calling for securing these labs, is treasonous and will lead to a loss of life, when the exact opposite is obviously true. The spread of pathogens is what will cause the loss of life, not the prevention of such spread. Senator Romney, please provide evidence that what I said is untrue and treasonous. If you cannot, you should do the honorable thing apologize and resign from the Senate. Evidence of the existence of such biolabs, their vulnerability, and thus the need to take immediate action to secure them is beyond dispute. Everything that Tulsi said right there. Oh, sorry, there was one more piece on this. So Senator Romney, you have a choice. Out of pride, continue to deny the truth or admit that you are wrong, apologize and resign. Aloha. And remember that without truth, we can be neither safe nor free. Man, Tulsi, great freaking thread sister. She lays out her argument again. She pokes holes in Romney's nothingness. All he does is call her treasonous and a liar. He offers no evidence of it. He doesn't deny. And to this point, as of 5 minutes ago when we started the show, he has not publicly denied anything that she said. We just showed you Victoria Nuland saying that the biolabs exist. Anyone would understand that in a war zone, if you got biolabs, it's a problem. It would be like if you dropped a bomb on a nuclear reactor, you might have a problem. We all understand this stuff. So I think Tulsi not only did that with grace and humility, but it's on Romney right now. It's on Romney. And I don't think he really cares about truth. I don't know what he cares about. But what are you saying? What is treasonous about what Tulsi Gabbard said? But we just let these people say these things and then they get rewarded on the talk shows and on all of the programs. So here is The View. And it's the original clip that we did our cold open with. This is the ladies of The View basically calling for Tulsi and Tucker to be investigated and potentially arrested. Ugh, ugh.
And look, but I think that's an incredibly relevant question. Yeah. And I think DOJ, in the same way that it is setting up a task force to investigate oligarchs, should look into people who are Russian propagandists and shilling for Putin. That's being, if you are a foreign asset to a dictator, it should be investigated. In fact, I remember when Tulsi Gabbard, and I even hate that we're discussing it because I think to myself, who is this woman? She's she's no longer in Congress. She's a failed presidential candidate. Yeah. She only practically exists on Twitter, and the fact that we're giving her oxygen is what makes her relevant, that we're talking about her on Hot Topics. But on the other hand, how do you not call out something that is repeating false Russian propaganda and that has been brought down?
They used to arrest people for doing stuff like this. If they thought you were colluding with a Russian agent, if they thought you were putting out information or taking information and handing over to Russia, they used to actually investigate stuff like this. And I guess now, there seems to be no bars.
I get it, guys. I owe you an apology because I now showed you that clip twice. The first one was better with me in drag. But these people are crazy. Like, they're legitimately crazy. What is Whoopi saying? They used to investigate. They used to arrest you. Oh, so we should just start investigating more people who for wrongthink, right? They used to grab them and put them in jail and gulags and no trials or anything like that. And that crazy Ana Navarro, who is just, she reeks of being just a horrible, horrible person. Like, what are you saying, Ana Navarro? What are you really, really saying? Yes, Tulsi Gabbard is irrelevant. She's only relevant because you talk about her on Hot Topics. And she's a failed presidential candidate. Well, she was a congresswoman, I believe a 2-term congresswoman, who really did do something relevant during the campaign. She actually stayed in the campaign longer than anybody else other than Joe Biden. The machine decided to choose Joe Biden, but Tulsi stayed and fought as long as she could. But if she's a failed presidential candidate, what are you, Ana Navarro? You've worked for a whole bunch of people, political people, as a consultant who have all failed. So you're nothing but an angry, harping, you're awful. These people, they're just awful. And these are supposedly the people who are tolerant. And they're the ones that are talking about arresting their political opponents. And on top of the fact that everything that they're talking about is based on nonsense. They're saying she's parroting Russia propaganda, but we just showed you that actually what she's referring to is what Victoria Nuland is admitting is real, that these biolabs exist. Okay, so then there's this lunatic, another lunatic. These people are crazy. They are crazy. And we all have to decide how much attention we want to pay to them. There's this guy, he was a Sports Center anchor 25 years ago, and he was pretty good, Keith Olbermann. And then he became an MSNBC host, and he went completely insane. And let's put up this tweet by Keith Olbermann. He's now independent, or he's just doing this all from a mental institution. I'm not sure. He retweeted that clip that we just showed you of The View, and he said they are, he's talking about now, of course, Tulsi and Tucker. They are Russian assets, and there is a war. There is a case for detaining them militarily. Trials are a sign of good faith and patience on the part of democracy. Okay, first off, I just want to be clear. We are not at war with Russia right now. Now, maybe we're in a proxy war. There is no war that has been declared, right? Congress has not declared war. Biden has made a point of saying we are not going to war. Now, with all the sanctions and all the craziness and the artillery we're sending and all the things going on behind the scenes, maybe we are at war and it's just not, been signed off on. War, send it over. But we technically are not at war. Can you pull the tweet up one more time? So that's why what he's saying here is so dangerous. They are Russian assets. First of all, he has no information on that, right? He has no evidence that Tulsi Gabbard and Tucker Carlson, just because they don't want to go to war and they're not repeating everything that the machine is telling them to repeat, that they are Russian assets. That's number one. There is a case for detaining them militarily. Really think what he is saying. He wants the army to go to people's private homes. Tucker Carlson, you may not like Tucker Carlson. I happen to like him, but you may not like him. You may not agree with him. But the idea that the military could bust into this guy's house and detain him for just sharing his opinion on what's going on in a war that apparently we're not part of in another part of the world. Dangerous, dangerous stuff. But you know what? Don't take my word for what Tulsi and Tucker believe. Tulsi went on Tucker's show to explain it.
What would be your response to Mitt Romney?
Well, first of all, I think it's important to point out here that this is not a matter of disagreement or holding a dissenting view. This is about facts. And this is about the truth. So while Senator Romney and all these different talking heads in the mainstream media are regurgitating Hillary Clinton's slanderous talking points, the facts remain. Number one is they're accusing me of saying that somehow there are bioweapons labs in Ukraine. I've said no such thing at any point. I have said that there are biolabs in Ukraine that have received U.S. support that contain dangerous pathogens, that if those labs are breached, then we in the world are facing a potential future of pandemics. The second thing they're saying is they deny, even though there is a plethora of evidence that exists, they deny that these biolabs are even there, which is shocking to me that we've heard over and over. You played so many clips from people in the mainstream media saying these biolabs, these supposed biolabs, as though there's some fantasy, when over and over and over again, officials from our own government, Department of State, Department of Defense, and so on, are saying these biolabs in Ukraine have dangerous pathogens, and we're very concerned that they may be breached.
All right, so there is Tulsi Gabbard calmly explaining what she explained in the first place, what our Secretary of State for Political Affairs, Victoria Nuland, said under oath to Marco Rubio that I just showed you. These biolabs exist. They are not bioweapons labs, but the question is, if they were to blow up or whatever is being studied there was to be taken out and exposed to the world, what would happen? So Mitt Romney is lying. The ladies of The View are completely insane. And then there's this guy, Adam Kinzinger. You may know Adam Kinzinger. He's a Republican, but what I would say is he's sort of a pet Republican. He's one of these Republicans who never defends any conservative values or any Republican principle. He basically just goes on MSNBC and gets pet on the head, and they feed him a cookie, and then the media loves him because he's really a Democrat. That's what he is. So he retweeted that video that I just showed you of Tulsi on Tucker, and he wrote, "Both are an embarrassment and a shame. Traitorous activity. Why is Fox News still allowing Tucker Carlson to spew lies for Putin? I know it will cost in ad revenue, but Fox News should suspend or cancel his show." Okay, so again, he's calling them treasonous for repeating facts. Like we just played you all the video, including our own Secretary of State. And they're treasonous, according to these ridiculous people. He went on in another tweet, this clown, actual Russian propaganda. You can see he's retweeting Tulsi's Twitter thread about what's going on. Actual Russian propaganda, traitorous. Russia also said the Lugar Center in Georgia was making zombies. Tulsi should go to Russia. These people are I don't know what we're going to do about this. You know, like this is just more fuel for this sort of separation of America, that they live in an alternate reality. Facts don't matter. Like facts do not matter to these people because they just lie. They just lie and they call them traitors and treasonous, even when everything that Tulsi said was absolutely true. And it's Russian propaganda. If you don't go along with what the machine wants, it's not just that you're a racist anymore. You're not just a homophobe or a bigot or a transphobe or anything else. Now you're a Russian asset, and maybe we should send the military to come get you. Well, then you know what happened, and this is just such a beautiful moment. Tucker Carlson did the right thing, something that I try to do very often on this show. When he sees people lying or misinforming people or falsely accusing people of things, he invites them on his show. He invited Adam Kinzinger on his show, and here is Adam Kinzinger's response.
I got an invitation to do Tucker Carlson's show tonight, and there's no way I'll go on his show for a number of reasons. But first, let me state that his insistence that the West was provoking war with Putin, his spreading lies about biolabs, and his continued spewing of conspiracy theories are nothing but complete evil. His show is full of Russian propaganda and not news. And I will not validate his show by making an appearance. He's not interested in conversations. He's only interested in himself. And at the end of the day, he'll continue to use his platform to deceive his all too trusting viewers and to further his own sense of power. The situation in Ukraine is serious and the outlook is dire. And this moment requires serious conversation and decisive action. So rather than validate his propaganda programming, I'm going to use my effort to support the Ukrainian people. Tucker has made it clear he stands with Putin and his war against freedom. I stand with Ukraine, democracy, and the men and women willing to fight and die for their country.
Man, they are everything they purport the rest of us to be. He is a propagandist. Tucker is inviting him on the show. I have no doubt in my mind. No doubt that Tucker would gladly do that interview live and unedited, just as I would do it, okay? He is inviting him on for conversation, and this guy is saying, no, I will not have conversation, as he lies about the biolab thing. Like, he brought up the biolab thing and claimed Tucker's lying about it. You know it's not a lie. Like, this is what they do, and he won't be on his propaganda show. What he means by propaganda is, oh, Tucker just has a different view of what's going on there. That's all he means. These people, this is dangerous stuff, but this guy continues. So the only reason I'm even bringing up this guy, I don't think I've ever mentioned Adam Kinzinger on the show before, because he's also not running again for Congress because nobody likes him. His own base, the conservative Republican base in Illinois, doesn't even like him. So this guy's on his way out anyway. So what he's really doing is just doing his best to get an MSNBC or CNN contributor gig. Can you guys make sure we clip this? Because I guarantee you when this guy steps down, that's what he's going to get. He'll be a host or a contributor on MSNBC or CNN. We will put the date on it, and that's what Dave Rubin said, because it's just obvious. That's how this ridiculous swamp game is run. So he's making the rounds, this guy. He was on CNN talking about how it's us that have to pay more. We should all be paying more in energy and gas.
You sit on the Committee for Energy and Commerce. We've heard, a number of people talking about, on both sides of the aisle, pushing for a ban on Russian oil and gas to the U.S. Do you agree with that idea of a ban, and do you think it's something that actually might happen?
I think it's certainly gaining steam. I think it should happen, absolutely. The American people have to be ready for even higher energy prices. I think, there's an understanding of that this is, in essence, a small price to pay, particularly if you look at what's going on in Ukraine and you put yourself in their shoes. That's a cost of defending freedom. And we have over, maybe as of today, 700 million some barrels in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That's what this is for these moments. I think we have to do it. This is the one thing that Russia actually makes money on, is their energy. And so it may be painful, but I think we absolutely have to ban those imports.
Guys, you just have to pay more for our inept administration. You just have to pay more. You just have to pay $8 for gas. We don't know for how long you're going to have to pay more, but you do. It's the price for freedom. Look, this is not to defend Russia's actions. You cannot invade a sovereign nation just because you want to. Putin has the idea of greater Russia, right? He wants to return to 50 years ago and the Soviet Union and all of those things. This in no way is a defense of Putin or his actions, but it is our own administration's ineptitude that has led to all of these gas prices. And now they are trying to collapse our economy so they can usher in their green energy and their electric cars and all of those things. And they have pumped so much imaginary money into the economy that we know inflation is crazy. It's 7.5%. But now people are saying it could really be as high as 10%. That's what's coming out today, that when they're telling you 7.5, there's actually a lot of indicators that show that it's closer to 10%, which means you have however much money you think you have in your bank account right now, go look at your Chase account, you have 10% less. You have 10% less right now as the cost of things continue to rise, right? So we all know meat's going up, chicken's going up, all goods and services all going up on top of the fact that the supply chain stuff, the stores don't have as much stuff. Your money is worth less and the price of things is going higher. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. Joe Biden's on it because, none of this could possibly be his fault.
Make no mistake, the current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan.
Liar, liar, your dementia pants are on fire. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan. It has nothing to do with the fact that we just print money, more and more money, and we just put it into the economy and it just sort of sits there and exists and people don't go to work and nothing's really working. It has nothing to do with that when you print money, you deflate the value of money in the first place. They are trying to destroy the dollar, and I honestly think they're trying to destroy America. I really do at this point. They are trying to destroy the America we all know and we all knew. That's what they're trying to do. And they lie to us about absolutely everything. So when they lie to you about gender and then you accept it, well, then next thing you know, they're lying to you about biolabs, whether they existed or not. And then they're lying to you about what inflation actually is and what happens when you endlessly print money that we don't have in the first place. It's not like we got a whole bunch of money just sitting somewhere and occasionally we're going in and taking it, right? Like we've got this nest egg somewhere of all this money that we've done, gone, saved, right? And every now and again, we're like, we do need more because, times are struggling right now. There is this war. Like, let's go into the reserves and pull out some money. We're just borrowing more and more money and deflating the value of American currency. That's what we are doing right now. But, thank you, Joe. It's not your fault. It's because of Russia. It's because of Russia, right? It has nothing to do with you canceling the Keystone XL pipeline, which would have brought 800,000 barrels of oil from Canada, which now is some of it's coming via railroad. But it's like there were 10,000 jobs that were lost because of this thing. We could have more oil flowing. We all know this. We can unleash America's resources. We've got a lot of oil here, but no, because they're telling you, actually, we're trying to rejigger the entire economy. Actually, we're trying to make sure we go to electric cars and all of these things. That's what I think Pete Buttigieg, Gay Pete, said. We're going to have 500,000 electric car charging stations. I don't know if we're going to have that many cars because we can't build anything and we can't get microchips from Taiwan, but that's a whole other thing. Anyway, to finalize the show today, I want to do two things. First, I want to show you this clip of the Democratic debate back in 2019, because I think this was almost the very moment that the Democrat Party went completely insane. So you may remember the Democrats, they had a whole bunch of people running for president against the scary orange man. There was Biden, who was always the front runner, but then when they realized he was sort of broken, remember that month where they put Bloomberg in and they pretended that was real, and then they had Elizabeth Warren, and they had Tulsi, and they had Kamala, and they had Gay Pete, and a couple other people. There was a really powerful moment in one of the early debates where Tulsi just destroyed Kamala. And this is a real moment where the powers that be in the Democratic Party could have said, which way are we going to go after we give Biden the nomination? Because they all decided to give Biden the nomination. Remember when, right, the day before Super Tuesday, everybody just dropped out and supported Biden, right? Like it was a plan, okay? It's how politics works. That's just how it is. But they had another possibility. The possibility could have been, okay, we're going to select Joe Biden, but we could take a decent moderate who loves America, who's a member of our armed services, who's sane and thoughtful and interesting. We could take her, or we could take Kamala Harris. So I think this moment back in 2019 when Tulsi smacked down Kamala is worthy of revisiting.
Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
You had your choice, Democrats. You had your choice. You chose the wrong way. And I have no doubt that Kamala Harris right now is licking her chops thinking, how can she jail Tulsi Gabbard? Oh, my God. Whoopi said I could jail her. I'm going to try to figure All right, a couple comments from RubinReport.locals.com. And then I think we're going to show you we're going to do it. We're going to do it. The people want to see the clip up top again. Okay, the wig, the lipstick, the blouse. They want to see all of it. We're going to end with that. A couple comments from the locals community. I can't believe you found my ex. She hasn't changed much. You would address. Yeah, well, she's a good-looking woman, and she makes more sense than those other women on The View. I mean, that's the simple thing. Like me trying to act like a drunken, crazy person responding to those lunatics makes more sense than those lunatics in the first place. That tells you the state of where we're at. Amy says Tulsi is way too patriotic and calm to succeed in the D.C. swamp. Look, that's a depressing reality, and I think you're probably right. I mean, the Democrat machine just completely tossed her to the side. By the way, when they're calling her a Russian asset right now, this is what Hillary Clinton did during the campaign. Hillary was doing it. So, lady, if you've got the evidence, drop it right now, right? As you've got Whoopi Goldberg calling for her to be arrested and Mitt Romney saying she's a traitor and treasonous. And you're saying that she's a traitor and treasonous. Hillary, drop the evidence. How about you drop the evidence? But they know they can just say the most evil shit about people and get away with it because they are in bed with the media. That's what the machine is. And if you step outside of that, the machine will try to destroy you. And we have to know that. Like, we really have to know that so that you know that anytime they say anything about anyone who doesn't follow the narrative, you know they're lying. You know they're lying, whether they're calling Joe Rogan a racist or they're calling Tulsi Gabbard a treasonous. It's like, you know they are lying. This is what they do. This is what they do. And you got to respect it so that you know how to respond to it. Jeff says, has Mitt gone down the Biden cognitive road? I don't think Mitt is there yet. I just think I just think he stands for nothing other than the power structure, right? I think that's really what drives Mitt Romney. I think he's nothing. He's an ineffectual, absolute nothing who would never really stand up and defend any Republican or conservative principle. He likes that the machine likes him. And I understand that, by the way. You can all understand the allure of that. It seems like the machine always wins. So it's like at some point people just kind of give up and they're just like, all right, I'll just give in to the machine. And then when you see the way the machine treats the outliers, it's not fun. I've discussed it. Watch my last interview with Tucker Carlson from a few months ago. It's not fun to be called a racist every day. It's not fun to be called a homophobe and a bigot and all of those things. I get called that every freaking day. It's not the most fun thing in the world. I could see why a certain amount of people are just like, I can't take it anymore. I'll just parrot the talking points. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. I promise you I will not do that. I will gladly find something else to do before I do that. Guys, you can pre-order my new book, Don't Burn This Country. It's coming out on April 12th. Pre-order it, would you? Do me a favor. Do me a solid. Pre-order the book. You're going to dig it. It's fun. I did the audio book. It's fun. It's informative. It really is a solution. It's a series of solutions to so many of the problems we're talking about right now. And I wrote this thing like a year ago, so it's fun to get back into it again and do the audiobook. And I think it's in weird ways, it's more relevant now. It's more relevant now because the machine has just gone crazier. So daverubin.com/book. And join us if you want to play along during the live chat at rubinreport.locals.com. And part one of my interview with former U.S. Ambassador to Germany and acting Secretary of Intelligence, Rick Grinnell, Director of Intelligence, I should say, acting Director of Intelligence, Rick Grinnell. Part one is up on YouTube and Rumble right now. The full thing is up ad-free over at Locals. That's it. I guess, what do you think, guys? Maybe I'll put on the wig and the lipstick and the blouse again and we'll go to Shake Shack. See ya.
And look, but I think that's an incredibly relevant question.
Yeah.
And I think DOJ, in the same way that it is setting up a task force to investigate oligarchs, should look into people who are Russian propagandists and shilling for Putin. That's being, if you are a foreign asset to a dictator, it should be investigated. In fact, I remember when Tulsi Gabbard, and I even hate that we're discussing it because I think to myself, who is this woman? She's she's no longer in Congress. She's a failed presidential candidate. Yeah. She only practically exists on Twitter. And the fact that we're giving her oxygen is what makes her relevant, that we're talking about her on Hot Topics. But on the other hand, how do you not call out something that is repeating false Russian propaganda and that has been brought down?
They used to arrest people for doing stuff like this. If they thought you were colluding with a Russian agent, if they thought you were putting out information or taking information and handing over to Russia. They used to actually investigate stuff like this, and I guess now, there seems to be no bars.
What are you two crazy bitches talking about? What are you talking about? You want to arrest people who are different than you politically? Tulsi Gabbard? She's a member of our military. She's a former congresswoman, a Democrat. You just don't like her, so you want to arrest her? You want to arrest Tucker Carlson, the very dapper Tucker Carlson. What are you saying? You guys are nuts. You're just nuts. I only agreed to do this show because I thought that Whoopi was sane. She was good. Sister Act 2. Anna's just nuts. I don't even know what she's doing here. The other one's a racist, and there's the drunk one. What are we all doing here? You people are everything that you've come to hate. You know that? Why am I here? I need a haircut.